color wheel project, you guys are going to start off on this worksheet planning out your designs. You can just do 2 different designs, pick your favorite one, and that's the one that you'll be doing on good paper. For the video, I'm just going to show you on the good paper, and I'm going to be following along this instruction paper. I think doing it on good paper will be easier for you guys to see for the video. I'm also just going to go straight with Sharpie on here, but you guys should start off with pencil so that then you can trace over your Sharpie lines, and if you make any mistakes, you can fix them without needing a new piece of paper. So these instructions I will have at your table. It says 6 color wheel setup instructions, and you can make your design look however you want, but you have to make sure that the setup follows along. So here are some like other examples of like different setups that I have. You know, some of them look really crazy, some of them are simplified, a little bit more, you know, I have shapes that you would recognize, you know, different types of lines that I'm using. So I have like a million different examples. There are endless ways to do this, but again, like I said, you have to make sure that you follow the instructions. So let's get to that. Okay, so the first step on here, draw 12 intersecting lines. Now, you can have them all intersect at the center. It doesn't have to be perfectly at the center of your piece of paper. It could be off center a little bit, but you don't want it to be way in the corner, because these sections are going to be, you're gonna have 12 of them, and one is gonna be for each color. So on the color wheel, right? One for each primary, one for each secondary, and one for each intermediate. That's 12 total colors. So that's why we need 12 sections, okay? So I'm gonna start off with that. You can do any kinds of line you want. Now, if you want to, if you use a really crazy line, you're gonna have to paint along that edge. So don't make it really difficult for yourself and make this like insanely squiggly line that you're then gonna have to take a brush and paint up against it. You know, you can have a squiggly line, but maybe keep it somewhat simpler, because like I said, you are going to have to paint up against that edge. You're gonna have to paint inside each of these shapes. So if like these shapes seem too difficult that you feel like you're not gonna be able to paint inside of them, maybe stick with something like wavy lines or straight lines, or just less crazy lines. Okay, so 12 sections. So you're gonna start off with something that looks like this. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. And I want these sections to be somewhat equal, and they all need to intersect at one point. All right, so I drew my 12 intersecting lines. They all come together, they all intersect at one point, and I'm gonna double check that I actually have 12. So I do this the easiest way, I think, is to put my one finger in the number 1 spot and then go around and count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Guys, if you don't have 12 sections, the rest of this is not gonna make sense. You have to have 12 sections. Remember, 1 is for each color on the wheel. Okay, so if you have 12, you can move on to the second step on here, which is drawing a shape around where the lines intersect. This is where you will paint your shades or your tints of each color. So you can see that I drew that in there. Again, I kind of made it like on the example, like a flower. So I did like a little rounded shape in each of those sections. You do not have to do that. Again, here's something like else that I did. So we're starting off with just the one shape in the middle. It can be any shape. Okay, so here we go on that. Okay, so I kept that pretty darn simple. Now we're ready to move on to the back side of the paper. And step 3 is draw another shape. It can be the same or it can be different. It has to go around the last one you just drew. In this section, you will paint, again, your tints or your shades. So you get to pick if the tints are gonna go in the center or if they're gonna go in this section or vice versa. Everyone's gonna do their hues in the outside section here, which is like the pure color, which we'll go over that again in just a little bit. So here I go drawing my second shape for step number 3. All right, so step 3 is done. Let's move on to step 4. Step 4 is to label the outside of the color wheel, each with primary, secondary, and intermediate colors in order. Just a heads up on that. I put a color wheel on here. Obviously, it's just in black and white. There are, I think there's just one mistake on there. It says green, yellow, and primary color always should come first. So you guys can change that to yellow, green. If it's not already changed on the paper that you're using, because you're sharing these instruction papers with other classes. So it doesn't matter where you start in what section on your paper, but the colors have to stay in order. If they are not in order on your color wheel, you will lose points. The color wheel makes sense with these colors in order. For example, if we're looking here at red and yellow, when you mix red and yellow together, you get orange. So orange has to be sitting in between red and yellow, or the color wheel doesn't make sense. It's not just a pretty thing, it's a tool that helps us see how colors are made. And so you guys are learning again about color mixing this year, so it's really solidified in your mind of how you make all of these different colors using just the 3 primaries. And for this one this year, you guys are going to be using black and white to also make the tints and shades of each color. So, you know, orange is made by red and yellow. If you add a little bit more yellow to your orange, you get yellow orange. So that's why that one is in between yellow and orange. And if you add a little bit more red to your orange, you're going to get red orange. So I'm going to start off labeling right here. I'm just going to pick this section right here. For this step, you guys would use a pencil on your good one. So if you're planning this out still on your sketch paper, you're using pencil for the whole thing. But especially when you get to this step, we don't want the color labels like these little guys out here. We don't really want all of those visible at the end, right? No one needs to see that but you. It's just for your reference. So I would do just the first letter of each color, like R for red, RV for red violet, and then, you know, kind of small just for you to see. And don't push really hard with your pencil, because like lighter colors like yellow, you'll be able to see it really clearly. So I'm just going to start here on my paper, and I'm just going to go around in order. I could go to red orange next and go around this way, or I could go to red violet and go this way. Totally your choice. So here I go. I'm going to go red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, blue, blue, violet, violet, red, violet, and then I should be back at red. And I am. And so therefore I know that I have enough sections, and I know that I'm not going to lose points on that part of my project. Again, this is incredibly important. You want to plan this out correctly now. Double check it, triple check it, have a friend check it. Make sure you have all 12 colors and they are all in order, okay? Okay, let's move on to step number 5. Step number 5 is labeling where the tints and shades are going to go for each section. So that's this last image down here. So basically on your design, like I labeled this section as red. So this whole like pie piece section is red. And I think that I'm gonna do my tints here and my shades in the center. So this is gonna be red tint, red shade. So this is what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna go around and I'm just gonna put an R in each these 2 sections, and then I'm just gonna do the same thing for all my colors. I'm just gonna make sure that I label the color in each inside section, then I'm gonna add the tint and shade. So I'm just gonna add an R here, RO for red orange, orange, yellow orange, yellow. This will just like make it crystal clear to you when you go to paint in these sections, like what color is going in that space. Okay, so if you look closely, hopefully, I don't know if you guys can see that in the videos, you can see it's like red, red, red. Let's see, red, violet, red, violet, red, violet, 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 right? It's all labeled in there. Now I'm gonna add the tint and shade information. And so like I said, this like center part here, all of these spaces are gonna be the shades of each of my colors. So I'm gonna put a little -S, like you can see I did on the instruction sheet here. So I'm gonna do -S. So I remember That's the shade section. And then it's almost like a sun, right? So like the rays of the sun, that's gonna be where I'm gonna do my tint. So I'm gonna do a dash T after each. And this isn't to confuse you. This is actually supposed to help you see where you're gonna paint each color. So, and this out here is gonna be the hue, which is the pure color that like, you know, you're gonna mix without black or white. So for example, yellow, it would be yellow straight out of the bottle. Now, if you wanna put an H there, you can. I feel that by not putting anything, it kind of implies the hue. So this is like yellow hue, yellow tint, yellow shade. Yellow green hue, yellow green tint, yellow green shade. So you guys you don't have to do all the labeling on your sketches. You know, you can just figure out the design with 12 sections and then your 2 shapes. So I want you to draw 2 of those. And then once you find one that you like, you can draw 4. I have spaces on there for 4 of them. You could draw 2, 3, or 4. And then once you're like, I really like this design, then you're gonna get your good paper, redraw it on there with pencil, go over it with Sharpie. Once you have the drawing of all the sections and everything done, then you can do all the labeling. You only have to do that step on your one that you're actually gonna end up painting, okay? So at this point, since I'm done, I am ready to start painting.